It sort of steps in, everything's on a process and you've got to take these steps. Well, you don't got to, but you know, people generally take these steps forward at a rate. You can't push them further, you've got to let the process evolve. And it does happen for all of us. You think it won't, but it will. But if we can then do access to that, what we can do is get a HD 720 webcam that will fit into the boxes, and that allows people to do those group meetings. What it also does is it allows us to target regional areas, because one of the big problems with regional areas, they don't have access to good supports. Going back to the question.
An area I don't think you really thought around where this is going to be quite beneficial is inside corrective services.
What are corrective services? Oh, like
jails.
Jails, yeah. Well, that's true too.
Like we have 40,000 prisoners currently in jails in New South Wales, in Australia.
That's very true.
Right? Through a group called Justice Action, we've just run a really big campaign where in New South Wales they've actually conceded that having computers in jails are going to be a benefit.
Yeah.
Now with what, I mean, I haven't said anything about this yet, but because part of what's happening is I'm expanding your brain around some of the possibilities.
No, look, go for it. Yeah, it's not all just a me show.
Like, no, it's not. No.
But keep going.
Yeah, no, I know. But,
yeah.
But that's, you know, that's just something additional to think about. And I mean,
no, that's massive.
And where that your second one there, your recovery radio. I mean, that's just like unbelievable where that's going to end up.
Well, you could also, this whole thing, you could expand into not just prisons, but like psych wards as well, and et cetera, et cetera. Exactly. So it does really expand things.
Yeah.
I suppose given that it's been mentioned, that might be subtle prompting you go to recovery radio. But with the recovery radio, a while back I was looking at a project called Hopestown, and I just never got it off the ground, but one of the things was a radio show. Because I think that a lot of us have something to say, and a lot of us have something that we're doing. And even if it's got nothing to do with mental health, well, you know, like I've got a mate who was in the system and he was just really good at cars, and he never really voiced it with anyone, but he's just really bloody good at it. And he could hypothetically, in this scenario, put in a write-up into the station and be able to do a show on cars, you know, and how to fix your car. Now, a lot of people find that helpful. Some people wouldn't, but that's okay, they don't have to listen to the time slot. And you could also run so many other things, so people could put in an option there to run their own time slot. I mean, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, I don't know how many hours that is, but it's a lot. So
168 hours.
You've obviously worked a full week.
7,000.
7,000, you've obviously worked a full week and counted it down until that week was over. So that's what I find when people remember those numbers. They've been there going, oh shit, only one more day of work to go.
That's long distance truck driving before they actually brought in some of the rules around road books.
Oh yeah, books. Yeah. I understand that.
Tachout cards.
They still dodge some of it. But yeah, so you've got a situation where people can set stuff up, and it gives people the option to do that, like it does. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll start seeing, like, we won't have to do anything on this, we'll just have to run the infrastructure. People will put in their applications. This thing will build its bloody self. You know, at the end of the day, you provide the platform you say it's about, where you're targeting, it will build itself because people have some stuff to say. And I think for a lot of us that have been in the system, they haven't had a voice, or that have gone through traumatic upbringings, whether you've gone through psychological, emotional abuse is a big one, all sorts of major traumas or different traumas. I shouldn't say major because every trauma is trauma basically, so I apologise about that. But with this sort of stuff, people have something to say, whether it's on recovery, whether it's on mental health, but there are a lot of people who have a lot to say on mental health. I'm not talking like your big speakers or anything like that. Like, fair enough, we go on stage and do all this blah blah blah, but there's people at home. Yeah, so.
Well, that's why we talk about each person is unique.
Yeah, true.
And when we actually start talking about the channels, I mean, part of what we're looking for is people's stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And because, you know, that will then give that, like that avenue there, and then some of the other channels, and we'll talk about this a little bit later around when we get to definitions, but not on this session, but later this afternoon.
Well, that's it. And I mean, like, I was known for being on stage and doing all these talks and theories and stuff. But I did a lot of listening and talking to people, and it was amazing what I found from like your average sort of in the system consumer. Like, there was one guy I met, and he was talking to me about bipolar and how he managed that, and the way that he managed it was just amazing. Like, he'd worked all these ways out. He did use medication, but he had all these other coping strategies that he's worked out himself, and I was just like, shit, man, that's really good. So and everyone does have that sort of information, because we're all living it. I suppose that's why you use the term lived experience. And to share that experience with people and have an avenue for people to voice that is a big thing. And I think that not only does that help a lot of people, but it also gives people a voice. I remember like coming from an environment where I was locked in a ward and told all these things about myself, especially during my upbringing, then in the ward. And then I started writing articles. And when I wrote an article, I was shit scared to post it on Facebook. I was always shit scared to post my work because it was always very real and open. But I got a lot of acknowledgement. Those likes on Facebook, those people saying that's helpful, that was a big thing. And I think that for a lot of us who haven't had a voice, if you've got a platform to put some stuff out there and get that pat on the back, because we all need it. We all need that whole good job, because that extends, oh yeah, you know what, I did a good job, and go on. And I think that if you can provide a platform for people to do that and put something out there and have a voice, and you know, you're obviously going to have some people that are going to be pricks, or that are going to go, oh no, this isn't going to work, or you know, they're not going to like the subject. Maybe they'll just be nice and not say anything. But at the end of the day, you're going to get people that will, and the people that will are the ones that make it worth it. And you sit there and go, okay, I'm doing this, and I've got, you know, 50 listeners, I've got 100 listeners, they're really interested, and then from there, someone might expand. The average sort of consumer might expand and go, oh, I can actually add this to the show, and I can add this to the show, and get them thinking and expanding, because they're getting that positive reinforcement, and we all bloody need it. So there's that sort of thing there. What you can also do is run ads for the service, like, you know, in radio shows they have like advertising spots. We can run that. Now, if that's the situation, therefore we can put more those advertising revenue we can put back into expanding the whole project. So we're starting to set this up that it runs itself and it's funded itself, which is great. You can also do like a 4-day video conference. I mean, if you think about like the Intervoice conference or any main conference, like there's one in Kansas, I think, in June in America. I don't know how many people can get to that conference. I mean, I've glossed over it. It looks like a really good conference, but I don't know how many people can get there due to funding, due to money, due to whatever. So what you can then do is you can actually set up a digital ticket, and people can attend that conference via video, and they can watch it, have a live streaming, you know, have like an online thing, because with your conferences you've usually got like your I think I crossed it out, but you've usually got like your different pricing structures. Like you've got your consumer, your early bird, you've got your working consumer, you've got your mental health worker, and then you've also got like your carer or parent or friend or whatever. I think they're all carers, but they're all different pricing structures. If you then had an online one as well, that would obviously be substantially less, because you're not there, but at the end of the day, you could have access to all the things in the seminar. They could send you out a little thing on like what talks are doing what, and you could choose to tune in at those times.
That's right.
And therefore you have access to all these great speakers, and some not so great, but you've got access to all of them to be able to see them, to work out which ones are great and not great yourself. I think that's also the interesting thing, that one of the things I wanted to run through also is that because everyone's at a different point in their journey, different things are going to work for different people, and you need to cater to that. I'm not exactly pro-medication, but I think it's an important part of the journey, and I think that it can be helpful for a lot of people. I'm very pro-ownership, pro-self-growth and all that sort of stuff, and I got here by a really long journey, and I think there are stages in that, but if I had met me 20 years ago, I would beat the crap out of myself for saying the shit I say, and I think that that's got a lot to do with different perspectives, where different people are and what works for them, and you really need to provide an avenue where people can access whatever their framework is. I don't have any problem with people in different frameworks, but it's important to cater to those. Really back.
We've done 25 minutes.
Yep.
So in the next 5 minutes, what are your key messages?
Key messages?
Yeah, about this recovery box concept.
Point concept.
Yeah.
Like the points.
Yeah, like if you're gonna summarise.
If I was going to summarise.
Yeah.
I think that if we can put together this product that has an avenue to access people in all walks of mental health situations and provide some level of support no matter where they are, and no matter what they're doing, and then market that to organisations so that they can actually deliver content on it. Then you have the all-inclusive product. You have a situation where a consumer can log in, look at things, learn and grow and make those steps. So you're providing better access to better support in the privacy of someone's own home. And I think that that's a massive thing. It's a really massive thing to be able to provide that and have people choose through this whole feature-packed thing. And obviously people expand upon it too. There's room for expansion in regards to the app design, in regards to all that stuff. So I think that's probably...
Thanks very much for that.
That's right, you can summarise, summarisation, and add, addition, multiply.
Now, I'm really excited about the opportunities. I think this concept that we're calling Recovery Box is going to actually bring not only to Australia but to other parts of the world. And I think, you know, when you talk about legacies, I think in another 20 years' time when we look back, and like today's the 2nd of March 2018.
Yeah.
You know, and they say, what are you going to be doing in 5 years' time? Well, hopefully you and I can be on the Riviera,
well,
enjoying some of the the benefits.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, ideally set up so that this continues running. We walk away in 10 years, 5 years, whatever, and it just continues running. Yeah. I mean, that's what a good legacy is. A legacy is something that goes long after you're gone. And I think having a spot there for everyone and catering it so that everyone has a groove that they can grow into through the different stages, and just having that avenue there is a big thing, because you'll find that people step into different roles as they work through their recovery, and they feel confident to sort of put themselves out there or involve themselves more, and the project just keeps growing. I mean, we could get hit by a bus in 10 years and let's set it up to keep running.
That's right. I'm a pretty hard taskmaster, and so this afternoon I'm going to be getting you focused on looking at that background document that I've done a little bit of work on, see if those domains match up with what you're thinking with this.
Okay.
But more will be revealed.
Okay. I'm a pretty stubborn person and defiant, so, and I don't know the meaning of the word focus unless I'm hyper-focused, so I wish you the best of luck with that. Let the battle begin.